Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and this is this is awful. I don't know why I'm doing. Why did most people vote to see me strip and read gay porn? Why? I don't even know if this thing's working right, so let's just hope that everything goes well. For tonight's reading, we have fuck, it's not working. Okay, it's working again. Homework, a Persona 3 fanfic. And for those of you that give a crap, it is Akihiko and Junpei. Where was I? Okay. I'm not starting from the beginning because I don't care enough. Turning his head, cheek resting on the desk, Junpei watched Akihiko stretch in silence, eyes drawn down to the patch of taut abdomen exposed by Akihiko's red shirt pulling up. Not resisting the temptation, he reached out and poked Akihiko in the side, grinning when that made him jump. "What?" Akihiko asked as he pulled his shirt down. Since this is not going anywhere anymore, Junpei vaguely waved his hand in the general direction of his handbook, then smiled mischievously. "I could call it Hermes." It took Akihiko a few seconds to understand what Junpei meant by that, but the realization made him frown, even as his cheeks tinted red. You know, it's a bit unsettling that calling your persona has become your personal slang for "let's jerk off together." "But it gets the point across, right?" Junpei grinned. It faded when Akihiko was still frowning at him. It faded when Akihiko was... No, I read that right. "Huh, we don't have to, we could do it. Huh? Just the two of us. If you'd rather," he stammered, looking at an indeterminate point at Akihiko's shirt. "I mean, schoolwork sucks. I can't go to the hospital. The TV's cables hosed." I don't even know what that means. The lights flickered a few times. "Can't use a computer with the power doing that. Kinda bored," and he looked Akihiko in the eyes. "Please?" Oh, God. I might as well start stripping. Oh, yeah. You like that? No one likes that. Anyway. "Gee, you don't have to sound so desperate." Akihiko rolled his eyes a bit before he pulled Junpei's chair closer with his foot. Ooh, getting kinky now. Junpei had a point. There was nothing much to do. He could always train more, but the flickering lights were an unwelcome distraction, and he had done nothing but train, eat, and do some homework since the lockdown began. He waited for Junpei to make a move, looking at him awkwardly, unsure how to initiate the whole thing. But it became clear after a moment that Junpei was just mirroring his look and feelings. "So, yeah?" Junpei gave him a nervous smile, then reached out for Akihiko's belt. Oh goodness, they're stripping. Ah! As he leaned forward, however, his computer chair suddenly rolled back an inch, enough to make him jump a bit. "Okay, not the best idea ever, but I don't want to break my teeth." Akihiko, he used his teeth to... He used his teeth to try and undo the belt? Ah! About the only safe place in... Wait, where was I? Oh, yeah. Akihiko couldn't help but chuckle a bit at that. "Bed? About the only safe place in your room," Junpei agreed as he rose and walked to the aforementioned bed, and then sat on it, frowning as he bounced on it. "No fair. I think you got a better mattress than mine." "Senpai privilege." "Really? Really? Ah." Akihiko joked as he followed Junpei, but instead of sitting on the bed, he knelt in front of him and began undoing his fly, keeping his gaze. What the hell? Keeping his gaze focused on the task at hand, even when Junpei moved forward and spread his legs for him. I could not have found something any more awful than this. I just didn't have the stomach. Anyway, it wasn't long before he was able to pull Junpei's erection free and slide his hand up and down the shaft slowly, getting acquainted with the feeling and heat of it in his hand, listening to Junpei's breathing quickening. "You gotta suck me off?" Junpei said with a grin as he slapped a hand behind Akihiko's head. "That doesn't even sound appealing to gay people. And I would know, I know some gay people." Okay, that's really unfair. But this is disturbing. Let me take off the shirt here. Yeah, you like that? Yeah, I'm an awkward. This is lame. I really don't want to do this. I don't. Alright then. Where was I? Oh yeah. You're not even supposed to be here. Shut up. Blah 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 blah. Oh yeah. Akihiko slapped the hand away and snorted. "Yeah, in your dreams maybe." Who says that anymore? Who says that anymore? Anyway, he said before he let out a chuckle that suddenly turned out into a loud yelp as Junpei's socked foot suddenly pressed against the bulge of his crotch. "Okay, I call foul. How are you that limber with your legs?" I don't want to think too hard about it. He hurriedly covered his mouth with his hand, but it was too late. "You son of a... you don't like?" Junpei asked, even as he prodded harder. "No, just..." Akihiko groaned. "Just hope Shinji... Ro... doesn't hear that one." Did I mention I have to fake orgasms here? Yeah. Yeah, bye. Now he can get nasty. Has he left yet? Yeah, he's left. Alright then. Where was I? Oh yeah. He's probably in right now. That wasn't supposed to be moaning. Junpei fidgeted a little. He hadn't thought about him at all. He was so used to Shinjiro being out God knew where pretty much all the time. But he was most surely here to shelter himself from the typhoon. He suddenly grinned down at Akihiko. "Hey, you should invite him." Akihiko froze. "Aye. What? Well, huh." Akihiko looked away slightly. "I mean, if he's here, we won't be bothering him." Akihiko blinked several times, speechless. You have some sort of unhealthy fixation on threesomes, don't you?" "I don't. I just thought it'll be less annoying for him to be here instead of listening to us." He grinned mischievously and rubbed his foot against Akihiko's crotch once, making him gasp softly. "Especially if you keep being so loud." "Whose fault would that be?" Akihiko groaned as he gave Junpei's dick a none too gentle squeeze as a warning to cut it out. Too late, though. The idea had already made its way to his brain for analysis, and a growing part of said brain was very much in favor of inviting Shinjiro over. After all, he had fooled around in some measure with Shinjiro before. It's not like it was entirely new. But Shinjiro and Junpei? Akihiko couldn't help but figure out whether or not these two would get along enough to get naked and grope each other. FML. Still, he let out a sigh and rose to his feet. Junpei letting go of Junpei. My shoes are coming off now. Then headed for the door. Don't mess with my stuff, he warned, not turning around. His ears were burning enough already. Junpei was thumping his heel on the floor, 2 seconds away to going to rescue Akihiko from Shunpei. Wait, Shinjiro. When Akihiko finally came back to his room, with Shinjiro in tow, he stared a bit at Shinjiro, who honestly looked his usual rather grumpy self. I'd like to add I don't care for Shinjiro. I mean, he's a neat character, but I don't like him. Yeah. Who honestly looked his usual grumpy self. He had no idea how Akihiko had convinced him. In fact, he was still processing the fact that Akihiko had actually gotten up and gone to ask. What? Shinjiro raised an eyebrow at him. He wasn't wearing his usual coat for once. Just a dark sweater. A dark sweater. And he didn't have his usual beanie on either, weirdly enough. Nothing. Junpei muttered as he looked away. He was damn glad he had tucked himself back in earlier. His dick was out, everyone. I just added that. That wasn't in the story. An uneasy silence fell in the room. Awkward. Again. Maybe this was a bad idea after all. None of them looked like they knew how to, or wanted to, get the ball rolling again. Pull a dick out. Finally, Junpei managed to clear his throat, but he couldn't think of anything to say beyond, so. This gets worse. I know it gets worse. I haven't read this before. I know it gets worse. Fortunately, that seemed to lower the tension in the room enough to provoke a reaction. Shinjiro looked over at Akihiko. Blah, 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 blah. We're doing it on the bed? Then Akihiko nodded. He walked to it, then sat on the edge to take his boots and socks off. Seeing that, Junpei climbed onto the bed on his knees, then pulled his tank top over his head. He was soon joined by Akihiko, then Shinjiro, who had taken his top off. Underneath the thick clothes, he looked skinnier than Junpei had expected, surprising him a bit. I'm going to take my shirt off now. I'm sorry. This is the point where yeah, I can take off my socks. I'm not naked yet. Yay. There's one sock. Lefty or righty? Junpei blinked. Shinjiro was talking to him? What? Which hand? What do you mean, which? Oh! Huh, right. Right hand, I mean. Oh yeah, smooth. That was in the story! Not me. Shinjiro nodded, then stretched and grabbed one of Akihiko's sports towels from the nearby desk before putting it between Akihiko and Junpei. What? You don't have to wash your bed, do you? He said, when he saw the looks the two other boys were giving him. Junpei frowned slightly. I have to check if the camera's still rolling every so often. Anyway, I'm barely in the screen. Okay, that works. Can you tell this is live yet? Not live, just unedited. Anyway, blah 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 blah. Oh yeah, Junpei frowned slightly, then raised an eyebrow at Akihiko. Why do I get the feeling you two have done this before? Akihiko chuckled nervously, but Junpei didn't give it any more thought as Shinjiro grabbed him, then began undoing his fly with one hand without any further formalities. Junpei muttered something that sounded approximately like "Gzizific." That's the closest approximation I could do. As he clung to Shinjiro's shoulder with both hands, trying not to tumble over and hit his head on the wall. Don't come yet, Shinjiro warned as he wrapped his hand around Junpei's cock, then used the other to try and pry Junpei off himself. The things I do for you guys. Forcing himself to breathe more evenly, Junpei managed to let Shinjiro go. Yeah, that made sense. He had barely pulled away from him that he felt he had he 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 felt he risked going grasped. Huh? Turning his head, he saw Akihiko looking at him, pulling his head down toward his exposed direction. Junpei gave him a slight nod and did as he asked, grinning when his strokes made Akihiko let out a small moan. Oh, yeah. At the same time, though, he had to grit his teeth to keep from making the same embarrassing sounds when Shinjiro's rough hand pumped his cock up and down. Oh my god. Oh. Using his thumb to spread the pre-cum over his head and shaft and twisting his hand a bit. Shin had to have done this before because Junpei was having trouble focusing on Akihiko's cock beyond hand up, hand down. Hell, he was having trouble in making it regular rhythm. Wow, that was bad. Of all things, he had soon become too much, though. He grabbed Shinjiro's hand as he bit down on his bottom lip, trying to make him slow down because he had seconds away from becoming way too fast and too soon. Oh yeah, I'm actually gonna take my shirt off now. Oh, poor souls, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can take my watch off. I don't have to take that off yet. Yay! I'm taking my watch off now, not my shirt. Hold on. So, ladies, loving this? I'm running out of clothes. Perverts. There goes the watch. Ooh, there goes my shirt up over my head. Oh my. Ooh. Anyway, back to the story. Where was I? No idea. Okay, I went up too far. Shinjiro snorted, but complied to the unspoken demand. Still, it didn't take too long before Junpei had to squeeze his eyes shut. Because even with Shinjiro slowing down, he was still too damn close to orgasm, and he didn't know where to look anymore because both the sight of Akihiro with his eyes half shut and his lips parted in a soft, continuous moan, and Shinjiro's strangely focused gaze on Akihiko made it were both too much for him to bear, but to no avail. He was soon squirming on the head and became hard on Shinjiro's hand, and I can't moan and read at the same time. With a strangled groan, Junpei let go of his bottom lip with a silent gasp, and his eyes blinked open. He caught sight of something that nearly made him forget both his orgasm and the fact that he still had to be jerking Akihiko off. Shinjiro finally leaning over Akihiko was kissing him deeply with tongue. And he had tangled in Shinjiro's messy hair. It was incredibly hot, one of the most hottest things he had ever seen in his life. Sure, and yet, oh god, yes. Oh yes, I'm totally not touching myself and faking this. Oh, this is not sexy at all. And yet he had the uneasy feeling he wasn't supposed to see it. He quickly averted his eyes when Akihiko began pulling his back and focused on bringing him to orgasm instead, and cupping his balls with his previously unoccupied hand, and he stroked him faster. And fuck this, I'm not reading anymore. I'll take my shirt off and I'm done. This is really, I can't do this. You've had enough, haven't you? Perverts. Perverts. There. Shirtless. Gone. I don't wear undershirts. Yeah. I'm I'm done. That's... Screw this. You got your fucking video, assholes. And yeah, I cuss. Bite me.